Welcome to the Catholic Everywoman, where we're dogmatic about dogma, but everything else is open for discussion. Today we're talking about Demeter through the lens of infertility and miscarriage. She is the next goddess in our archetype series. I'm Jane Spencer.
I'm Anna Sutton.
And let's get into it. So who was Demeter? We'll get into mythology a little bit. She was the mother of Persephone. She is defined by motherhood and attachment. She was the goddess of grain, agriculture, and the cycle of the seasons. Demeter is the mother archetype. Everything about Demeter is connection, motherhood, and longing. So she, of course, as a Greek goddess, she has big faults. So when she doesn't have her daughter, Persephone was kidnapped by Hades and taken to the underworld. Demeter searched and searched and searched without sleeping or eating and cast winter over the whole earth because of her longing for her daughter. So she's a fierce punisher when she doesn't get what she wants.
So she's a vulnerable goddess in that has a connection to men, but she's specifically vulnerable in relation to her child.
Yes. Yeah. And she's vulnerable because when Hades kidnapped Persephone, she beseeched Zeus to do something about it. And he wouldn't because Zeus is the worst.
Zeus is the worst.
Yes.
My big takeaway from this series is that Zeus sucks.
Yeah, Zeus is absolutely the worst. And then on the positive side, Demeter, as a mother archetype, is full of nurturing energy. She is loyal, steadfast, everything that a child wants in a mother. You know, a child wants to be able to come home to a stable mother and a nurturing mother. And then virtues that are kind of associated with Demeter are patience, fidelity, and hope. Yeah, so
very nice.
That's a little bit of her mythology. It's very sad.
Yeah, Demeter and Persephone both have kind of sad stories. Although we'll go do Persephone next, but I recently saw a spin on Persephone that it was actually like a great romance between her and Hades. So
okay, there's been some like shows about this.
Yes.
I haven't watched them, but
it's called Seeking Persephone. It's on Amazon Prime. It was really cheesy. It was cute though.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
I mean, I think there is something about being very much desired that is romantic.
Yeah, absolutely.
But being kidnapped is a little, maybe a little particular.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so now that we kind of know who Demeter is, let's talk about her biblical archetype.
Yes, so her biblical parallels. Well, we are specifically approaching Demeter through the lens of her suffering and her longing, which is why we're focusing in on infertility and miscarriage. And you could put infant loss in there or child loss of any kind in there.
Absolutely.
Really.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I personally know women who have lost a child, like had a stillbirth or lost a child very soon after birth. And I can't imagine that suffering.
Oof. Yeah. I'm really thankful I have not had this. I've had plenty of miscarriages. We struggled with getting pregnant when we first started trying to get pregnant. I'm not a person who gets pregnant easily, so I've felt that pain, but the intense pain of child loss is definitely a different level.
Okay.
But, okay, the biblical women, I mean, we have touched on Hannah and Rachel in other episodes because they're so, because they apply in multiple ways, but with their intense longing for a child, like Rachel famously said, "Give me a child or I will die."
No pressure.
Yeah, exactly. Jacob did not respond well, as any man wouldn't. I also thought of Rebecca, the wife of Isaac. Isaac's who the mother of Jacob, because she was like team Jacob all the way. Her loyalty was to Jacob was really stronger than her loyalty to Isaac and to her other son Esau, which is a little bit weird. She was like definitely had like pretty strong favorites, but she sacrificed a lot for Jacob and put a lot on the line
Actually,
for him.
I do have a question about that because I've read this story multiple times in the Bible about Jacob and Esau and how Rebecca covered Jacob's skin with fur because his brother was hairy and told him, "I'll tell your father that you're Esau. I'll cook for him because I know what he likes, and then you will receive your father's blessing." And to me, I know that we're supposed to be Team Rebecca, but I just thought, hey, you lied. And
I don't know if we are supposed to be. She did lie. So, I mean, she was told that Jacob was the one who would receive the promise. So she knew that. So I think in a way she was trying to do the right thing. Like she was trying to force the promise God had given, but there was no need. I'm sure God would have handled it without her lying,
Right. So maybe that's part of the shadow side of Demeter, a little bit of when motherhood can go wrong.
Well, when your intense loyalty to your children over everything else can go wrong.
Yeah, and even over the husband, because in the order of charity, our love for our husband comes first before the children. If we make the children everything for them, and the husband goes to the wayside, then that's not going to make for a happy family.
No, that's not a good approach to marriage.
Right.
Obviously, you can swing in the other direction. If your husband is abusing your children, you should take your children away from your husband. But
yeah.
And then the woman of Revelations 12. This is a great one, which is Mary. She's clothed with the sun.
Right.
And she cries out in anguish. She flees to try and protect her child. You know who else would be a good Demeter figure is Hagar. Because she was forced out by Abraham and Sarah. She fled into the wilderness with her son, Ishmael. And she was like, I'm going to put him down over there so I don't have to watch him die. Yeah. And then God appears to her and is like, it's fine. I'll take care of you, and saves her. And he says Ishmael is going to be a great nation as well. So she experienced intense suffering over her child. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Motherhood is such a strong theme in the Bible.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I think about Mary, the mother of Jesus, she never knew she was going to be a mother. She had consecrated her virginity already. And then when the angel appeared announcing, you'll be a spouse of the Holy Ghost, a mother of the Messiah, what a change. What a radical change. Like, wow, I didn't know that this was ever going to be a part of my life. And then through her fiat, that be it done unto me according to thy word, she then incurred the greatest motherhood of all and the greatest suffering. Mm-hmm. So it's
7, a sword shall pierce your spirit.
Absolutely. Also. Yeah. And due to all of her suffering, she is called the Queen of Martyrs.
Yeah.
Which is wild. And so I think, I don't know, at least for me, I don't have any children. When I think about children, it's really like, oh, how exciting would that be? How wonderful. And there's going to be the cross as well.
Yeah. There is. And the hard thing, to get into kind of infertility and miscarriage, the hard thing about opening yourself up to pregnancy is that you don't know what you're opening yourself up to. You could be opening yourself up to trying and failing over and over and over again, or you could be opening yourself up to successfully getting pregnant and then going through a brutal miscarriage. So it's not just that you're being open to life, you're open to death. If you're open to life, you're also open to death.
That's a great point.
And that is a really hard pill to swallow over and over again.
Yeah. And childbirth is very close to death in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Oh, so on the knife's edge of it, I would say. I don't know. People online are not that dramatic about, people in general, maybe I'm more dramatic about childbirth than other people. I think it's awful. It's the worst thing ever.
Yeah. Eve, right, was given that pain. Adam was given work as a kind of a punishment, and Eve bearing children. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So when we look at the women of the Bible, their fruitfulness and grief flowed from a covenant relationship with God. And things went wrong when they tried to exert control. And I think Rebecca did that a bit. She was like, no, I'm going to control the outcome for my child.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think there has to be a lot of trust and surrender when it comes to being a mother. The more we try to control, the more difficult it is to. And then I say this with so much love, but accept God's will, whatever that might be. If you are trying to conceive children and they don't come right away, okay, this is part of God's plan, and I want to control it, but He knows better. And I think that's, really hard.
It's, well, and also you don't know the future. Like, I was thinking about this just the other day, that, like, it would be better for my child to be taken from me when they're young than for them to go to hell. So I have even prayed that before. Like, God, I would rather lose a child now than lose their soul eternally.
One of the queens of France said that to Louis XIV. I'd rather see you dead at my feet than commit a mortal sin.
Yeah, that's a really hard thing to conceptualize. I remember when I had my daughter Noelle, she just turned 9, so this was 9 years ago. It's still, like, so vivid in my brain. My sister had a close friend who, like, within a day or so of me having Noelle, their son died very suddenly. They had 3 children. So this was my sister's friend, not my sister.
Okay.
But so she was in this really difficult place of celebrating with me and mourning with them.
Yeah.
But I remember I was holding Noelle, like my newborn child, and I pulled up the funeral to stream because I wanted to see what he said about his child. And the dad said, if one person comes to know Christ through my son's death, it will have been worth it. And it was, like, so unbelievable to know the level, to, like, feel the intensity of the pain he was in, like, holding my own newborn child and thinking, like, would I have the power to say that? Like, only by the grace of God. And honestly, so many people did. Like, they were in a town on the East Coast, and through, like, that process, like, there was a massive wave of people that started attending church and that were brought into because of that one family's example.
Wow.
And like, how they handled the death of their son. It's just, like, I really can't imagine, like, that intensity of grace from God, because there's no way you could do that as a parent. And Demeter, the dark side of Demeter is she didn't. She was selfish, right? She was. She clung. She was angry. She's like, I will torture the whole world rather than, like, be open. Whereas Mary, the alternate of that, is I will, like, lay myself down and my son down. And Abraham, I will lay my son down. Like,
wow, yeah.
That's what God calls us to, is, like, you have a child, you bring forth a child, it's a part of you, it's something you love with an intensity that, like, nothing can ever match. It's a weird thing with parenthood because on the outside, people look at it and they're like, this looks terrible. And you're like, it kind of is, but also it's the greatest thing in the world. And it's impossible to describe that if you haven't felt it, you know?
Yeah, no, I think you're right that it is the greatest love, because God sent his only begotten son to die a brutal death for us. And that was the greatest love that the earth had ever known. And so when Abraham was told to sacrifice Isaac, and then God gave him that covenant because he was willing to go that far, then God sent his son.
Yeah.
So I really think it is the greatest love.
Yeah, it is intense. So with miscarriage, I want to talk about miscarriage because it's kind of an under-discussed. I think in Catholic circles where women are having a lot of children, it's discussed more. Like, in my experience, when I became Catholic, it was definitely talked about more. My first miscarriage, we hadn't converted yet. And none of my friends, I was young. It was my second pregnancy. So, I mean, I was like 26 or something. So most my friends hadn't had one. My mom is like a freak of nature. She had 7 kids and never had a miscarriage, which I now realize is wild. Like, that doesn't happen.
Okay.
But so I just wasn't prepared at all. And then when it happened, I really didn't have anyone to talk to. I remember people said, like, friends who said just, like, awful things because they didn't understand.
Awful things?
Well, like, I remember someone said, like, well, it's just like a period, right? I'm like, well, no, it's not just like a period at all. It's actually way more painful, and the hormone change is way worse. And also, you're losing a baby. It's not at all like a period.
Wow. How far along were you?
I was only 8 weeks. So it wasn't far enough where I had been showing, like, that's another hard thing. That can be really hard in a marriage. If it's earlier, before the husband, I think it takes a while for a husband to kind of even, like, process, like, a pregnancy. And I mean, different husbands are different. But for mine, like, until I'm, like, really pretty, like, noticeably big pregnant and he can feel a baby move, I think he forgets I'm pregnant. You know, he's like, oh, yeah, you know. And so a miscarriage is, like, the wife is going through something, this, like, massive turmoil, and the husband's kind of, like, not a part of it. So in that way, it's a very lonely road. I think miscarriage is inherently, inevitably, an extremely lonely process.
Okay.
Because your friends, nobody can do anything for you. You just have to bleed it out. Like you just have to endure it.
Okay. So what kind of support did you need that you wish you had from your friends?
I don't know. I mean, it's funny. I mean, I've had several miscarriages, and I've had them with lots of support. I've had that one with like no support. I think really the only thing you can say to somebody enduring a miscarriage is just like, I'm sorry, this is awful. Can I bring you a meal? Like, that is one thing.
Okay.
Bringing meals does help, especially if they have other children, because there is still a lot of cramping. It's a physically painful process. I mean, It is a mini labor.
Yeah.
So you are incapacitated to some extent for a couple days at least while your body goes through that process. And it's just it's a really heavy bleeding, that kind of thing. And also it's this terrible experience of, as you're bleeding, you're like, do I save this? Do I pull it out? Do I fish through my own blood?
Yes. Okay. So that's actually been a huge question for me because, even having grown up in a Catholic community where women had really big families, I've never been with women who've talked about this. No one has ever talked to me about it. And so I don't know what to do. If I have a miscarriage, do I collect everything? Do I bury it? Do I don't know.
Yeah.
Or how do I know if I'm bleeding such that I need to go to the doctor? Or when do I need to go in and get a D&C? I don't know.
Well, if you know you're pregnant, if you've had a confirmed pregnancy from a doctor, usually you go to the doctor at 6 to 8 weeks. They do an ultrasound. They check the heartbeat. If you bleed at all after that, you should tell your doctor. Some women do bleed, and it's fine. There are people who have some bleeding in pregnancy, and it's not a miscarriage. I haven't had that, but I had a friend who had severe bleeding an entire pregnancy, and it was fine, which is crazy.
I've known a couple women who have spotted or kind of bled and thought they just lost the baby, but I don't know what that was. But
yeah, from 8 weeks on, I've always had miscarriages from 8 weeks on. It's pretty obvious. The cramping is intense. You are having clotting. It's the size of a mouse. You're clotting a lot. And so it's not subtle if you're miscarrying. And I have had where I just woke up and started bleeding and miscarried. And I've had where I went to the ultrasound and they're like, oh, there's no heartbeat. And that's even worse because then you're just waiting just every day. You're just waiting to pass it.
Oh my gosh.
So the first time I had a miscarriage, I did not, I was in the doctor's office because I just woke up and started bleeding. I was in the doctor's office when most of the stuff came out. We talked about this. We're recording in the morning. I'm like, we've got to clear our voices better before. Sorry. And the nurse, I remember I had a panic. I started almost screaming and I was like, is this my baby? And she's like, let's get rid of it, and flushed it. And she was trying to do the right thing, but I was like, oh no, that wasn't really what I wanted either. So when I then bled out a baby at home, I did save it, and we did bury it. And there's cemeteries, Catholic cemeteries, where you can do that. Also, if you have a much later term miscarriage, I think you definitely should save it. But at the hospital and stuff, you do have to ask. I mean,
okay, yeah. So it seems like the nurse didn't let you grieve or didn't let you have that moment to.
I mean, I think I was panicking, and so and her thought was let's get you out of here.
Everybody panicked.
Yeah, I mean, it was an emotional. I don't think she was trying to do anything. My mother-in-law had a doctor. She had a miscarriage at 20 weeks, which is late.
Wow.
And the doctor, she was at just bagged it and threw it in the trash in front of her. Can you imagine? I would have lost my shit.
No, I can't imagine.
She's told me that is a moment of intense pain in her life, and I'm like, just, oh my gosh, I would be so angry. But it was a different time. She was in a military hospital. She didn't know what to do, And to that, she didn't know what to do.
Yeah, and I think I might be in that same boat where, because this is such an under-discussed topic, I wouldn't know. And if a doctor did that, I'd be like, is that standard procedure? Or,
you should always be comfortable advocating. If you don't advocate for yourself in a hospital setting, nobody's going to advocate for you. So you should always be comfortable aggressively advocating for what you want.
Okay.
I would say that in general. As a person who's married to a doctor, you need to advocate for yourself. But also don't be a jerk.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Tricky balance.
Yeah.
Okay. So with miscarriage, you know, how could you speak to persevering? Because I know of a couple who they lost a child and they were just so distraught. They were like, well, we don't want to try again because that pain was so severe. We just can't handle it. And maybe they will in the future, but it's been a couple years and they're not Catholic, but yeah.
Yeah, that is hard because I understand that temptation. Or if you have other healthy children, you're kind of like, why would I keep opening myself up to that nightmare? I mean, I feel that a little bit. Like, I have 6 kids. I don't want to risk, especially like as you get older. The older you get, the higher your risk is. You're like, it starts to feel. This is a really unhealthy mindset. I'm saying this knowing this is not how you should think about it. It feels like you're like playing the lottery and you've won a lot, and you're kind of like, I should stop. Like, I'm gonna lose. You know, like. It's a terrible way to think about it. Like you're playing the odds, but like we are in the hands of Christ. So
yeah,
you're not playing the odds. But
I mean, in the Bible, the number of women who had elderly pregnancies.
Yeah,
I mean, with God, all things are possible.
And honestly, the number of women just in our church who have very successful, perfectly fine pregnancies in their like mid 40s, where the world would be like, ooh, shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
You know who's a great example of that right now is Anne Hathaway.
Oh.
She's pregnant with her 3rd and she's like in her 40s. And I've seen people like criticize her.
Oh, there's been a lot of criticism. Like, why are we celebrating this midlife pregnancy or whatever?
Yeah, like, why would we not? She looks great. She's healthy. She's thriving.
Did she say like, oh, I used IVF or anything like that?
I don't think so. She just announced she was pregnant. I mean, she has this is a misconception, I think. If you're trying to get pregnant for the very first time in your 40s, it's probably going to be really difficult. If you've had other successful pregnancies and your body knows what it's doing, it's going to be easier to have a successful pregnancy.
Interesting.
Okay, so like I raised alpacas. So from a livestock perspective, like getting the maidens, we'd call them the maidens, the first time mothers, it was really hard to help them to have a successful pregnancy and then have a successful breastfeeding. Like lactating was hard. We would often have to hand feed the babies. We'd have to like work to get their milk to come in. The first time mothers, it was a pain in the butt. But the ones that had babies, they were cruising, you know,
okay.
And they were good. It was kind of sweet. Like there were times that a mother was really struggling to feed her baby and like another mother would come over and try and like help feed the baby.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which, I mean,
sweet.
Yeah, we also had, this was less sweet, like older mother who had miscarried her baby and then like aggressively tried to take another baby that was born.
I mean, if that's not a Greek archetype problem.
I know. And a biblical problem, actually. There's the story of the women with King Solomon who like, oh my goodness.
I don't know this.
Okay, so King Solomon was the wisest man in Israel, wisest man ever. He wrote Proverbs and all that. There were 2 women that came to him. They had both had a baby. One rolled on her baby in the night and killed it, and then she took the other's baby.
Oh, that's right. Oh, that's
you know this story.
Yes, yeah. I do.
And then they're like, whose baby is it? And he's like, just chop it in half. And the real mother was like, no, just let her have it. And he's like, that's the real mother.
You're the real mother. And everyone's like, yeah, you're so wise.
It is kind of a funny like example of wisdom.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a great story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it happens in the animal kingdom as well. Animals really are so emotive. It's astounding. Even you have a herd of animals, they all have a personality, they all have emotion. Like they're really incredible.
Yeah.
They don't have a soul, but they are like their emotions are authentic.
Well,
anyway.
they have a little mortal
They don't
soul.
have an eternal soul.
Right.
Yeah.
Not an eternal soul. Yeah. No, but we can learn a lot from animals. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about spiritual motherhood.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You know, there are women who have tried for forever and ever to become pregnant, and it's a great sorrow that they don't have children. But that doesn't mean that they can't have a spiritual motherhood.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So like praying for the conversion of souls, adopting other souls to pray for. That is a spiritual motherhood. And being a godmother is a real relationship. It is a real spiritual relationship and motherhood. And yeah, of course, in the monastery, we called the superiors mother, and they were very maternal to us, and they would refer to us as mothers of souls.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah. So in France, we didn't really celebrate Mother's Day. Maybe they do in the secular world, but we didn't. But Mother would tell us, when we're offering things up, like, well, that's our spiritual motherhood. You're a mother of souls, and this is the pain of our life of immolation is the pain of bringing forth spiritual children.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, gosh, the religious life was not easy. I think sometimes social media makes it look like a bunch of giggling sisters, playing volleyball or like being on retreat. But no, it is like a grind. You are grinding all day, every day. And constantly giving up your will and sacrificing. And, when the mothers framed that as like, these are your spiritual children, this is real, it was really consoling and like it felt kind of powerful.
Well, yeah, and you're going to gain the eternal reward for that as well.
Yeah, that too, which is encouraging. But in the thick of it, as I'm sure in the thick of labor, it's like not on your mind. It's just, I'm in pain. This is awful. Make it stop.
I just want this to be over. There's no epidural for spiritual motherhood.
No.
Well, I think motherhood is painful. To lay yourself down as a mother is a radical sacrifice, which is maybe why in our culture we're seeing less and less people want to become mothers. Mm-hmm. And the birth rate is abysmal. Like, we're not making enough children because it is a huge sacrifice. And in a time where people feel sort of unstable, the world feels a little crazy.
Yeah.
It feels like, why would I open myself up to that? Why would I do that? And that's, without God, that's a legitimate question. Why would you? It's terrible.
And every child is a wild card. Your kids don't necessarily inherit, oh, you're going to be just like your mom or dad or have that personality. You might have a wild card child.
Yeah.
And then dealing with that can be a huge sacrifice.
Yeah. So I think it's really important to validate the risk and the pain and the sword that comes as a mother. But also, it's like the best. Like, it's the best. There's a reason that I remember my doctor, actually, when I had my first baby, she said, if you can get to 4, you can have 10. And
what does that mean?
Well, it's like there's this weird shift that happens. Like, you hit 4 and suddenly you're like, it's not that hard. Like,
okay,
it gets easier.
I've heard this elsewhere that having 4 kids is the hardest it'll ever get. After that,
well, I think having 3 is the hardest, in my opinion.
Okay.
But if you get to the 4th, it was suddenly like, this is easy. Like, now I can do it. Like,
because you knew what you were doing, or because with the older kids you had like more support?
I don't know. I think it's kind of a mental shift. I think it's easy to be really like perfectionist and nitpicky with your early children and like really hands-on. And yes, they are very little. They're very high demand. But then something like kind of releases. Like, you're just so outnumbered. You sort of die to something. You die to yourself a little bit and you just settle into it. I don't know what it is. There's just a clear transition that happens at that number. So if you have 3 kids right now and you feel overwhelmed, you're in the right spot. You are. You are overwhelmed with 3 kids. Push to 4 and it'll suddenly
literally.
Easy. Yeah, literally push 4. But if you're struggling with infertility or miscarriage, if you've had miscarriages, if you're scared to try again, I would say like yes, that's legitimate. Mm-hmm. Feel that, like, you're not wrong, but give yourself like the potential of joy. Like, don't shut yourself off to joy.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. And then from a psychological perspective, I love what you said about let yourself feel it. Mm-hmm. I would say, too, don't block the grief.
No.
Let yourself feel the grief. Let yourself do rituals that help you work through it. Like, if you need to take a grief walk, on the anniversary of a miscarriage or the loss of a child, or if you need to write poetry or process it in whatever way you need to, that's your mother love, and I think that's really a good thing. But just I've seen it where it's the opposite, where a woman just kind of shrugs her shoulders and like buries it, and I don't think that's healthy.
Well, it's okay too if you
not literally buries it. I mean like does not
doesn't feel it.
But
I mean, I do think there are times where if you have a really early miscarriage and you kind of knew it was a risk, like especially if you've had multiple, you start mentally preparing. Like as soon as you get pregnant, you're like, this might not last. And then if you miscarry like 6-7 weeks, it's kind of like, well, I knew it might not last. So and then sometimes people are like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? And you're like, yes, like I knew this was a possibility.
Okay, so that's like mental preparation ahead of time, not putting all of your eggs in that basket.
Well, just saying like if you don't feel this intense, overwhelming grief, you don't have to feel guilty about that. Like,
yeah, that's a good point.
Like
that's a good point.
You might be okay. You might be miserable. You might be okay. Whatever your experience is, just let it be that experience and
I mean,
and
grief,
heal from it.
Or guilt. Like a miscarriage is not anyone's fault.
No, it's just, and it's so likely. I mean, 1 in 3 pregnancies ends in miscarriage. If you have multiple children, you probably will have a miscarriage.
That's good to know. 1 in 3. Okay.
Yeah. So if you have 3 friends who are pregnant, that's a terrible. If you're in your 20s and you have 3 friends who are pregnant, they're probably going to be fine.
Probably.
If you're in your mid-30s, probably someone's going to miscarry.
Okay. I mean, good. Good to know.
I know, that's so depressing.
We're in our mid-30s, everybody.
I know. Well, it is true. My friends and I have talked about this where we're like, now when someone gets pregnant, it feels like I hear about more losses than successes at this point. And most of my friends have, children and have had plenty of successful pregnancies. But I think all of us, when someone gets pregnant, you almost even hesitate to say congratulations till you finish the first trimester. Okay. Everyone has this feeling of like, well, that's great. We'll be praying for that,
Yeah. Okay. So after the first trimester, do you know, like, there seems to be a radical decline in the likelihood of miscarriage?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what the percentage is by any chance?
I know at 8 weeks, once you see a heartbeat, if you successfully see a heartbeat, it drops dramatically. Okay. 12 weeks, it drops dramatically again. So your risk of miscarriage, if you've had a healthy first trimester, goes down a lot.
Okay.
Which is why, like, 20-week miscarriages and stillbirth stuff are like very painful
and they seem really rare too.
They are more rare, for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, great.
So that's Demeter. I mean, she's the mother. Her shadow side is that she becomes overly consumed by her children. She is selfish in her grief, as contrasted by the women in the Bible. And again, Mary, we always come back to Mary because she's the greatest mother. And the church is also our mother. So she also can't just be drowned by loss.
Right. The shadow side of motherhood can be really intense. Codependency, or what I see in my practice is mothers who have a really hard time letting their children grow up. Mm-hmm. From baby to kid is one transition. Kid to adolescent is another. Understanding that you don't want to baby talk or like physically aggressively coddle your little kid who wants to run and play, or an adolescent who, their brain isn't fully developed, but their mouth sure is, and taking everything personally. Like, we used to be such good friends, being able to persevere and support the adolescent, and then even adulthood, being able to let your children spread their wings and become the best version of themselves. Because if a mother just insists on controlling the daughter or controlling the son, and a mother can get inside of a marriage, a mother can...
Yeah, I guess as a child therapist, you see the dark side of motherhood
I see it a lot. And I just want to encourage all mothers, if I have one message for the world, it is okay to let your kids be a little bit uncomfortable. That's not the end of the world. And that is how we grow and learn skills and learn how to be pro-social adults.
True.
Yeah, but it's hard, and it's a sacrifice for a mother to let go a little bit, but it's healthy.
That's right. All right.
Okay, so
Thanks
I think
so much.
we covered Demeter.
St. Carlo Acutis.
Pray for us.